Good evening, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our RISE Global Summit session focused on the Asia. Sorry, it says the Americas, but we are focused on Asia today. My name is Charmaine Lee. I'm the Senior Program Specialist at RISE. I'm joined by my colleague, Andrea Delgado, who's an analyst here, and three wonderful RISE Global winners, Aabhas, Monique, and Shichong, and you'll get a chance to hear from them and about their experiences as global winners throughout this session. Just some housekeeping. We're going to have around a 20-minute presentation. The whole session today is around 45 minutes. So we'll have plenty of time for questions if you have any specific questions for our global winners as well. So if you wouldn't mind using the question function in the Zoom chat and reach out to us if you aren't sure how to use that, but that would be the easiest way for us to handle your questions. So as a reminder, again, 20-minute presentation, and then we'll have about 20-25 minutes for questions and answers after. So let's get started. Andrea, next slide, please. RISE essentially finds brilliant people who need opportunity and supports them for life as they work to serve others. It's the flagship program of Schmidt Futures, a $1 billion commitment by Eric and Wendy Schmidt to identify and support global talent. The program is a shared initiative with Rhodes Trust of the prestigious Rhodes Scholars Program, which is the oldest international graduate scholarship program in the world. As you can see here, we announced our second cohort of winners in September this year, featured on Good Morning America, which is a nationwide television program in the US. Next slide. So our philosophy is based on the premise that talent exists everywhere, but opportunity does not, and RISE brings that opportunity to the talent. We find brilliant people who need opportunity and support them for life as they work to serve others. Next. Next slide. Thank you. So we have three distinct features that makes RISE unique. Firstly, it's a global community. So anyone from around the world can apply, and we connect talent from over 170 countries with our inaugural global winners hailing from 42 countries across 6 continents. It's a lifelong program, unlike most scholarship programs. So this is really supporting you for life as you work to serve others. And we have designed innovative ways to look for hidden brilliance in whatever form it takes to help build a better world. Next slide. So since its inception, RISE has welcomed over 150,000 people from 170 countries to its community and has selected 200 winners from 69 countries of origin. In our second year, global winners represented 47 countries of origin, 22 new countries represented, 30 languages spoken, 13 repeat applicants included in the new cohort. And then specifically from Asia, Australia, and Oceania, we had 26 winners from those regions. And I'd like to just welcome our global winners here today to just introduce themselves and sort of say where they're from and some of their background. Go for it.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Aabhas. I'm from Ahmedabad, India, and so glad to be here. Looking forward to talk to you guys.
Hello, I'm Shichong. My pronouns are he, they, and I'm a Chinese student currently studying at University India. So I'm based nearby Mumbai in India.
Hi, I'm Monique, and I'm originally from the Philippines, but currently I'm in the US for studying college. I'm also very happy to be here.
Wonderful. We're so happy that you're here too. Next slide, please, Andrea. Next slide. So what are the benefits of the program? One of the great aspects of RISE is that the program really the benefits kick in as soon as you apply. So everyone who applies immediately joins our global community and begins to enjoy some of these great benefits. So next slide. So for everyone who applies, they immediately join a global community. They can participate in our Discord, which is active, and lots of people are engaging across, many different regions around the world. And then you have access to free online courses and events, as well as project-based learning and human-centered design approaches geared for social impact. We also connect folks with opportunities from our partners, which there are many around the world, which is an exciting sort of aspect and unique aspect to our program as well. And maybe our winners here can talk a little bit about the ways that they've engaged with folks either in the Discord or some of the courses that they've taken as well.
Yeah, especially during last year when last year in 2021 when the cohort started. So a lot of us, we didn't have channels of connections except the Discord, and we first met through Discord and some of these online Zoom meetings, and then we connected over WhatsApp and all of these groups. But I feel particularly being part of the RISE community in general, the best benefits are that you get to have those conversations about global matters and understand youth context around the world. That helps you a lot. I feel you realize the similarity, although we are from so diverse backgrounds, the similarity in the social context that binds you and also opens new doors for opportunities other than RISE. You would connect through RISE, but your associations could go on. Next week, I'm part of a program and one of my other friends is from the RISE community, although he was not a winner. So yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Aabhas. Next slide, Andrea. So once you finish the RISE challenge and complete your application, and Andrea will go through this in more detail, you're eligible to be selected to become one of the 500 RISE finalists we select each cycle. So the benefits here include bespoke educational and leadership courses. There's a special Duolingo English test waiver that we offer, and of course, additional deeper ways that we can connect that with you with the RISE community and opportunities there. Next slide. If you're selected to become one of our 100 global winners, the benefits are lifelong, as we mentioned. Really, these include needs-based college scholarships, a fully funded residential summit, mentorship and career services. And really, our program is designed to provide individualized support to empower our winners to be best positioned for a lifelong commitment of service. Next. So as we mentioned, one of the significant benefits of our program is a RISE Residential Summit, which is a 3-week fully funded residential summit that will be held in a different location each year. So this year, we actually held our first residential summit for the first cohort in Cape Town, South Africa. And actually all 3 of our winners on the call today were in attendance of that. And I'd love to just welcome some impressions from our winners. What were some assumptions that you had going in, and how were they changed over the course of that 3-week summit, and some of the activities and engagement that you had there. So maybe you can hear from Monique first.
Yeah, of course. So I think at the beginning, I was quite nervous going into the summit just because I haven't been away from home by myself for 3 weeks, and so I wasn't very sure what we were going to do there, what was going to happen. But I think from the very first day, everyone was super welcoming, and I made a lot of friends, lifelong friends actually, and it was just an amazing experience where I learned so much about the history of South Africa, systems thinking and leadership. And I still keep in touch with a lot of the winners that I met at the summit. And actually, there's a few of us in the United States, and so within the Bay Area, we 4 of us all met up for a little Thanksgiving celebration, which is really fun.
Yeah, similar here. I think the program is really well designed, and it really reveals how unique RISE is in terms of diversity. You can see students, winners, and RISE team members from all different countries, and it really opens up your horizon, and you can like see how different opinions clash with each other. And I remember we have this thing called lightning talks. So basically everyone will explore an area of their expertise and then do a quick like 1 minute, 3 minutes talk to the community. And I really learned a lot throughout that process. And on a different note, our winners in India is also, we're trying to get touch with each other, maybe perhaps in the coming months.
Yeah, for me, like the residential summit was quite interesting because I was going to the summit in my gap year, and I had been to like I was doing an internship, so I was in like that intense campus experience or like away from home. But the best part, just in the beginning, like so many different countries and so many diverse contexts. So um, it's easy to form silos within the community when you are so diverse and everyone is speaking so many different languages. But the insightful conversations that we had, we were able to bridge those silos instead of like just being with the Indian people or being with the Asian people. So that brings a lot of diverse perspectives, and we learned some beautiful lessons from during the summit, like about we learned through the visit to Robben Islands, learning about how leaders like Mandela showed resistance, and then lessons like Ubuntu, and so much into the like the context of South Africa. But then you start to connect those things with your own context and how you can implement those things. So that's really powerful, I feel. And yeah, lifelong friendships to cherish and intersect.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Well, let's move forward on to the next slide. So the global network. Oh, sorry, Andrew. One of the great things about RISE is, the RISE winners are really active when it comes to networks and building connections that really allow them to amplify their impact. So RISE, being a entity of Schmidt Futures and Rhodes Trust, we connect them with experts and leaders in the field in our respective networks. And RISE winners are also active in building their own affiliate networks. They're such as an Africa affiliate group, which they're passionate about cultivating connection and leadership in the Africa region. So we really see a lot of unlimited potential that happens with networks, as we're kind of the hub and the sort of spark for these sort of self-sustaining networks. So I'm going to pass it over now to Andrea, who will talk a little bit about the application process itself and some of the, examples of projects and what is the RISE challenge. So I'll kick it over to Andrea.
Great. Thanks, Charmaine. Yeah, so now that we've talked about all of that, we'll go through, what are the things that you need to do to apply to RISE. So, one thing that we'll note is that, you can apply to RISE today. If you haven't yet, you can go on the website, risefortheworld.org, and create an account to start applying to RISE, since the application is already open. So we, are here throughout the process to make sure that you all have the support and the tools that you need. And, this information session is going to be one of hopefully the many different resources and touch points that you all will have with the RISE application as we go through this year's cycle. So how do you apply to RISE? So the way that it works with the RISE application is that we really try to understand who you are as a person using many different dimensions, because we want to make sure that we're really understanding and discovering all the different types of talent that is out there in the world. So as you'll notice, there are different components to the application that might not necessarily be like other similar scholarship applications or other competitions that you may have been a part of before. And the great thing about this as well is that you don't necessarily need to have had previous experience or previous opportunities like this, because we really try to take into account everyone's sort of different traits and dimensions throughout this process. So there are a few different steps that you have to complete. So first, like I said earlier, is registering as part of the RISE community on the RISE website. And then the main thing about the main sort of component of your application really centers around a project, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth later. But essentially, you are going to create a project that has some form of impact on the world and your community, and talk about all the different steps and processes that you sort of had to go through as you were completing your project. After that, you would also tell us a little bit more about you. So there are a few questions around, what are the big problems that you want to solve? What is your background, and what are the different experiences that you would like to highlight about yourself? Another thing that we do that is quite unique to RISE is we do a peer review, which essentially involves you looking at other applicants' videos and projects and giving your feedback on them. And this, we find, helps you understand a little bit more about the different work that other people are doing. And at the same time, it helps us understand, how sort of you interact with other people as well. And then finally, we have a quiz and a game. These are sort of meant to establish a little bit more about what your different abilities are in terms of problem solving and critical thinking. And again, these are fairly intuitive, and you don't need to study or prep for them. It sort of is something that you can just take, just sort of sit down and have a quiet place to focus for a little bit. But, these are not, anything that's a super involved test. So in fact, I think some people tend to find the quizzes and games to be a pretty fun part of the application, depending on whether or not you like the puzzles, but that's some feedback that we've gotten. So basically, with all these different steps, we have a due date of January 25th, 2023. And you can really complete any of these different steps in any order that you want. Basically, everyone has to start with registration, but you could start off by maybe getting the quiz and game out of the way first, and then go on to upload the different questions relating to your project. But as long as you complete all these different steps by our January 25th deadline, you will then be eligible to be considered as a finalist. So what is the RISE project? And we will, hear from the winners about what their, specific projects were like. But essentially, as you're completing the RISE application, there are a few different steps for the project that we sort of guide you through and provide different resources and think sheets to help you think through all these different components as you're going through the application. Essentially, first we will ask you to pick a project focus and link it to one of your passion areas or one of the big problems that you want to solve throughout your life, and just focus on it and do some additional research to inform yourself about the topic. After that, we'll ask you to design and plan your project. So this could include anything from outlining all the different goals of your project, the different steps that you'll need to achieve your goals, and any other considerations that you might have as you're thinking about doing your project. And then finally, we will ask you to act and reflect. So we'll ask you to upload something that shows us what you actually did for your project. And this could, be anything from videos of you out in your community actually carrying out your project, or it could be a text-based response as well. And then at the end, there will be a reflection piece where you sort of talk through what are the different lessons that you've learned, and things that you would like to reflect on as you finish your project. And then essentially after all those steps are completed, we'll have finalist day, as Charmaine had mentioned, where we'll pick 500 applicants who will advance on to finalist days. And these are done over Zoom live, and they are sort of a combination of one-on-one interviews with our selectors, group interviews, and group presentations with your fellow finalists, as well as some group problem solving activities. And this is a great opportunity for you all to both, show who you are kind of in person beyond just a video or a text response. And also at the same time, start meeting more folks in the RISE community, since it's a great way to also, meet your fellow finalists. And then finally, later we will then pick the 100 global winners from the 500 finalists. So these are, going to be the third cohort of our global winners, which would be a very exciting time. And so now I'm sure you all have many questions that we can address in the Q&A, but I think for now, I would love to turn it over to our winners to talk more about, give an overview of what the RISE project was about.
You want to call on someone, Andrea?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so if Monique, if you want to chime in, and then we can move over to the others.
Yeah, sure. So my project was, I worked with the Department of Education in a province, Korean province in the Philippines, to start to collaborate with them on a programming course that will introduce primary school students to Python programming. And we started the program with 15 students, and part of my project was creating the program, testing it out within my school with some of the younger students as well.
Yeah, I did something a bit different. It's more of a scientific research thingy. It's a bioengineering project focusing on a low-cost solution for biosensor in detecting water body arsenic and fluoride contamination. So basically, using bioengineering to see, like, let's say the river is contaminated with excessive arsenic or fluoride. I did a prototype of it because like project like this takes a long time to finish, and I don't have enough resources and time to finish it from beginning to proof of concept. So I designed a prototype, I formulated a report, and I turned in that as my project. And I think like the most important component in your success of the project is like you have to be truly passionate about what you are doing. And you don't have to follow a specific form of project. You can do art if you want, and maybe do music, and then try to see how can you help your community throughout the process. And I think that's like really important.
Aabhas, would you like to chime in with a summary of your project?
Yeah, so my RISE project was basically ThinkFinder, which was like a asset tracking device for Alzheimer patients and elderly. That was a very technical project that I took up, but I would say now, as I have gone through the process of RISE, if I would be applying again, I wouldn't, like, that time I didn't have a lot of information about what RISE exactly expects from us. But now that I've gone through the process, I feel I would have taken some project that is a balance between novelty, but also some on-ground efforts where I can see more immediate, like some tangible impacts. So that helps me realize that it's headed in the right direction. So in general, the feedback would be it need not be like world-changing innovation solution, something like that, but you need to have some on-ground impact rather than just big ideas on paper. Yep.
Yeah, I think tangible result is also very important, as Aabhas mentioned. And yeah, I think, I forgot my point. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, and so basically, as you know, they all have mentioned, the RISE project can really be on any type of topic that you want it to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be about, technology or science or the environment. It's really sort of up to you to pick what area or topic you're passionate about and where you think, you can put together an impactful project that fulfills all the different components of the project plan. So there's really a lot of flexibility for you to really showcase, your passion and work on something that you're really excited and interested about. And so one of the things that, basically here's some of the things, just a quick overview of, as we are looking at everyone's different projects and applications, we want to make sure that you're emphasizing or showcasing all these different traits. So obviously, we sort of look for people who are brilliant, and brilliant can mean a lot of different things. You don't necessarily have to be a math genius or a computer genius. One of the big philosophies of RISE is that brilliance comes in different ways and kind of expresses itself in different topics. So that sort of can take on your own individual definition of what that means. We also look for traits like perseverance, so showing that you're able to overcome obstacles and sort of get through challenges in a way that works for you in your local context. Also looking for integrity and empathy, so also making sure that we want our RISE winners to be out there in the world helping others and themselves, and so these are sort of important traits that we look for as well. And finally, a calling to serve others. I think that's an important thing as well. When you're thinking about your projects, think about what is sort of the impact that you can have on others or the world beyond sort of doing just that specific thing for an application. Yeah, so basically for challenge advice, I'd love to go back again to the three winners. If there's anything that you would like to point out in terms of what helped you complete your application, if there are any types of resources or approaches, or even just general ways to think about it that helped you as you were completing the application. And Shichong, if we can start with you, because he looks like you're thinking.
I think this has been mentioned, but like being yourself actually helps. I think for me, when I'm searching for a topic, I started out like thinking about what am I good at and how can I utilize that to address an issue in my community, whether it's in like the village around my school in India or my community back home in Shanghai. So I think that's really important. You have to start by thinking about yourself first, then think about what you can do to the others.
Yeah, I agree with what Shichong said. I think it's really important to focus on your passion and yourself. And it's, of course, you can go and look at other people's projects and get an idea and get some inspiration. But I think it's really important to focus on what you really want to do and your passions and yourself. And I think one other advice is to not stop if there are any challenges when you're pursuing your project. I had quite a few challenges, from like internet connection to the pandemic. And I think finding ways around those and not letting those problems stop you is what will really help make your project, and what will really and like it will really also help you as a person develop and grow and like fix your and just improve your problem solving skills as well.
Yeah, I would also, yeah, go ahead, Shichong.
Aabhas, you can go. It's okay. Don't worry.
So I would say, yeah, as they said, being authentic throughout the process is what I would say helps a lot. And going through each of the process, I would say authenticity does not only mean being able to express about who you are, but also in terms of your work, if you face any challenges, as Monique said, you could actually show how you persevered through that in your journey. So necessarily roadblocks do not mean that it's something bad, and maybe you can overcome it later, but showing your entire process brings in that subjectivity. And secondly, I would say like keep asking the why. Like many a times what we end up doing is solving a symptom of a problem rather than the problem itself. So keep asking why, and try to get into the root problem, and then try to think how you could address it in your own way. You may not completely eradicate the root problem, but knowing about the root problem redirects you to take up tangible efforts towards something.
Yeah, and also I think collaboration is important. You don't necessarily have to be the lone wolf out there. Okay, here I go, here I come, I finish my project. Like it's always crucial to seek help and seek mentorship if you, let's say like there's a specific issue that you don't know how to address, that you did a lot of research, but you still can't figure out what is the best way forward. Then maybe talk to some experts, talk to your local governments, or maybe talk to researchers who are in the field, and then they will give you better insights. As long as you document all of these help genuinely and do proper citations and everything, I think that will be fine. You don't have to figure out everything by yourself in a month. That's like quite unrealistic.
Thank you all for your great advice. And so I think the last thing that we want to close on before we move on to the Q&A session is just wanted to kick it back to you three again, just to talk about what you're doing today. So you guys are the first cohort of winners, so it's been quite some time now since you've been a Rise Global winner. Many people are around the time where they're going to college or they're applying to college. I know that's a main thing that is going on with a lot of our cohorts, but would love to hear personally from you all on what you've been up to. Shichong, you also look excited to chime in.
I'm actually under a lot of stress. I'm applying to college this year. It's not that fun, but I know Monique is doing well in UCP. So Monique, do you want to share some insights?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry to hear you're under a lot of stress, Shichong. It gets better though, I promise. Yeah, I'm currently at UC Berkeley, and I just started in the fall, and it's been really, really exciting. Like meeting new people, being in the United States, and also joining a lot of clubs. Since I'm very focused on computer science and education, I was able to get into a club called Innova, and we teach computer science to students in the Bay Area and underprivileged areas, and it's been really great getting to know the kids. Also being part of the club and going to the socials and meeting everyone. And yeah, it's just been really, really exciting. I think Aabhas, he's on a gap year, so that's also been very fun, I think, for him.
Yeah, definitely. I as they said, so I'm on a gap year, and there's been like a journey. Like my gap year started with like doing an internship and being like a month there, and then going on for travel to my native places and learning more about my cultural roots, and then being at the Rise Summit, learning about the global context. So it's been journey through all of these things, but I feel like gap year has been really insightful for me, and like I also have developed a deeper spiritual connect, I feel, because time allows you to seek within. And I feel like someone I read it somewhere that like people may regret not having taken a gap year, but no one ever regrets having taken one. So I mean, if you look forward to take a gap year, it's an amazing choice. Time is the best tool to learn from. So yeah.
Yeah, I also want to emphasize on RISE has a collaboration with my school, UWC, like the United World College. Around the world, we are an international school having 18 campuses in different countries. So they have, like, let's say you are, when you're selected as a winner and then your age is below, like you haven't applied to college and you're seeking for, let's say, secondary education opportunities, you can apply through RISE to UWC, and then they have a specific scholarship collaboration that will cover part of your expenses in UWC, including tuitions. And I'm not sure about the specific details about it, but I guess you can, it's probably on the website, so you can check. And UWC is really a great opportunity, and you can meet students from around the globe for 2 years. And if you are thinking about joining UWC or thinking about coming to an international school, RISE will be a great channel to do it.
Great. Thank you all so much for talking through that. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining this virtual session. I know that we are just about at time, but if people are welcome to stay for a few minutes as we answer some of the Q&A. Let me just stop share so I can read through some of the questions.
There's one here that maybe is interesting.
Yes.
And then maybe this is actually answering the anonymous as well as Paiman's question. Would you share some tips with us about how to present ourselves in a way that shows our personality best? Given that there's a lot of video application, are there any sort of tips there in sort of presentation?
For me specifically, there were two things. Like for the project videos, I used like screen sharing because there was a lot of technical aspects that I needed to cover. But in the non-project videos, or where the technical aspect was not required, the best thing was seeing to the camera, and it required many takes for sometimes when I would fumble. But over the times now, I never take double takes or hardly any retakes. So it's more about just express yourself as authentically. Like what I do as a practice is I do make some bullet points, but I do not draft the entire thing so that I can have the subjectivity. And it also allows you, if you draft a complete thing and if you miss out something, you feel that you didn't actually portray yourself or something like that. But if you have just bullets and you can explore all the realms, then you bring that subjectivity. So I think that would be a good balance between having some tangible things but also having subjectivity and authentic version of yourself.
Yeah, and just on a like technical note, try to make sure your lighting and your microphone is like you tune it into the best condition so that your voice can be addressed. And yeah, I guess that's it.
What I would say also is to kind of show your excitement and your emotions as well in the videos. I think that's really important. Just like, I mean, it is a serious application, but also, showing some that you're lighthearted maybe, or like just showing your true personality. Don't like just try to be what you think it is. It's not really an interview. It's more like you, like, think of it as maybe you vlogging for maybe a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, given that like your initial videos would be peer reviewed. So I would say try to make a balance between not going too technical so that other peer, because at times it's difficult to understand if someone is not from that technical context. So focus more on what a layman could also understand despite having your own understandings of it. So make a balance between that, and yeah, try to yeah, because just try to see what elements of the videos, like what I did when I was applying was that I saw through the videos of every other applicants, and I was trying to learn from what actually struck me or captivated me, and then try to incorporate some of those elements. So you could do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a question about is writing scripts for videos and then expressing them is the right way. Actually, I'm also a English as second language student, so I kind of struggled with like language when I apply, and I think that's fine as long as you express them in a genuine and authentic way. You can write scripts and then like do whatever to make you feel less stressed and shows who you are. I'm sorry, there's a power cut. Here I disappear.
Oh no. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah. I don't know if there are more points to add.
I think all steps need not be done before applying, right? Rather, the project steps will go on as you apply. Yeah, I'm answering from the questions part.
Oh yes.
And in terms of the secondary scholarship and like higher, I know like higher education scholarship is need-based. So you will apply through like a similar process as applying to colleges. You will fill out the CSS form and then send them to RISE rather than your college, and then they will like decide from there.
Right. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think there are a couple that we can group together. There's one around what do you think about the topic of being different or unique in the work you do, because everyone wants to solve big issues like climate change. And then another one that's sort of related on what is your advice on doing a project? Does it need to be difficult or can it be anything? So I'll kick that over to whichever one of you three wants to answer, but I think they're kind of similar questions.
Yeah. I actually had one of the applicants message me recently, and we were discussing about like what could you do, or like but in general, what I would say is that when we are approaching these global problems like climate change, education, and things like that, in your specific context, you try to go deeper. Like if someone really wants to solve the problem of plastic, maybe try to dig deeper into what like instead of directly jumping into solutions that okay, I'll make paper bags, but even if you make them, who's using it, or why is it not being used? Trying to get dive deeper into why is it not being used. Maybe they forget it. Why do they forget it? Or why is it not durable, or whatever? So what I mean is that instead of directly thinking about global problems and global solutions, go on like the local version of the global problem, and then local version solution of the global problem. That will make the problem more simple and also have some tangible impact. It may not be like 1,000 people or lakhs of people just change in behaviors, but if you could maybe bring a change in 5 families around you, 10 families around you, even that's impactful. It could be in context of education, of climate change, of anything. Yeah.
And I think there's like there's a question about when answering the question about challenges we overcame, do the challenges have to be related to my project or my life in general? I think that's like a specific question to this year's application.
I think
So
the challenges one was more about the like in the personality one, like you ask like what are your privileges and what are your not your privileges. I'm not very sure if that's the same in this year's context, but based on the question, you basically discuss about your life. But if it's within the project videos of the act phase and reflect phase, that's where you discuss about the project. But in general, if it's being talked about challenge, then about in general what's your privileges and not. Yeah.
Great. I think we'll do one more question since we are over time. I think one of the questions I see here is I think Abbas, actually there's one that you'd like to answer, and I think that was the same one. Someone is saying they live in a more economically developed country and they don't have serious issues. They're asking if their project is focusing on a small issue in their community, will that make it not as good?
Yeah, like I would just reiterate over my previous points. It's fine solving a small issue at small place. It could be like if I'm suffering from malaria and like I need treatment, then I do need to take paracetamol and control my fever, right? Eventually I can cure malaria, but meanwhile I do need some paracetamol. So I would say yeah, when you're trying to address a bigger issue, solving like connected to a bigger issue, but solving a small part of it does make sense. So it does not make a project less good. Rather, I feel that many a times, including myself, I tried to solve a very big problem and all the big ideas still remained on paper and nothing on ground or like have tangible things. So this is something I've learned, that having small steps but tangible impact brings you a lot of momentum to scale it up in future as well. So maybe going that way is better. Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, so I think we've answered most of everyone's questions. And I think Charmaine put in the chat earlier, there's also an FAQ page on the RISE website. So that will answer a lot of your questions, especially regarding the application. So we definitely encourage you to look there. And there's also on the website a contact form if you have specific questions that you'd like to address to the RISE team. But wanted to thank everyone so much for taking the time to join us this morning, this evening, joining in from wherever you are. We hope that this helped you learn a bit more about the RISE challenge and the RISE community. We're very excited to have you all in this sort of year cycle, and hopefully, we'll continue to be hearing more from you, and you'll continue to be hearing more from us as we go on through this year. But wanted to close there, and thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Monique, Aabhas, Shichong. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.